what's up, guys? Welcome back to Randy Starts a Side Hustle. I have an amazing guest with us today. I invited him because I really wanted to gear this podcast towards the younger generation. I believe that, and a lot of young people don't do this, I believe that if the young people, if you young folks coming out of high school, coming out of college, take charge of your finances up front in your life before you get into party mode like I did, that party till I was 40, before I got serious about my finances, you'll have it taken care of. So that by the time you're 40, now you can party. Now you can enjoy your life. Now you can live good. And that's why I brought this gentleman on, okay? I've known him already for, it's been probably about 10 years already, Carlos?
Yeah, over 10 years.
And I met him in a business that I got involved in, that my ex-brother-in-law introduced me to. And when I first met this sharp kid, I met him at a meeting, and he was on top of the world. This guy had reached one of the highest positions with the company that we had worked with. I'm gonna let him tell you all about that. But let me tell you, he was in front of a room about 50 to 100 people, and he was in charge. And this guy was half my age at the time, and I was like, wow. I wish I would have been on point like this gentleman is, okay? Carlos Jimenez, how you doing, man?
I'm doing amazing, man. How you doing?
Good, man. How you doing, my brother? I'm sorry to give you this time. I couldn't reach you, see? Oh. All right. So, Carlos, how's you been, man?
I've been amazing,
It's good to see you. I haven't seen you for a while, man.
Good.
You look
Actually,
good.
Before we start, I want to let you know, I took this podcast because you invited me maybe like 2 weeks ago, right?
Right.
Purely out of respect, man. The respect that I have for you. Like
Thank
I said, you came into my life because I know I came into your life, but you came into my life. And I was maybe 24.
You see,
25.
you were super young, man.
You said that it's geared towards the young ones, but I'm 34 now.
That's right.
I'm
But now
almost
you got
35.
experience under your belt, buddy.
But when I was 24, man, I was, doing what I was doing. I was going through the ups, through the downs, and I was making a lot of money back then. And you came into my life, man, and I saw you as a father figure back then. And the group that you came through, I know you came through your brother-in-law. He should remain nameless, right? But definitely you came into a point in my life where it was very important for me. So I take this out of respect. I respect the fact that you reached out to me, so that's why we're here, man. Want to catch up. Also, one more thing I got to say. He was calling me continuously for the last couple of days. Like, hey, man, let's prepare. I got a couple questions for you. And I genuinely did not want to talk to him because I wanted this to be, like, natural.
Yeah.
I wanted to catch up and just have a normal conversation.
Spontaneous,
We haven't talked in years. We haven't talked in years, and I wanted it to be a regular, just normal, genuine conversation. So I'm doing amazing, man.
Amazing. That's great, man. I'm glad to hear that, Carlos. I'm glad you came on the show with us. You guys are in for a treat. Okay, I'm gonna start it off real simple with an easy question. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Carlos, and your family.
A little bit about myself. Let's see, man. I'm 34 years of age. Today, I consider myself an entrepreneur. I know that's like a very broad word, but once you get to know me, you'll see that I have different pockets of, I guess, revenue streams, income streams. But if you want to go back to the beginnings, I was born in Cuba. As you guys already know, Cuba is a very communist country, socialist country, right? And we're not going to talk politics, but once you go down that rabbit hole of the belief of socialism, it's a very bad rabbit hole to go down under, right? At the age of 5, my family, shout out to my grandfather, my grandmother, my parents, we left. We left in the middle of the day on a Sunday afternoon. It must have been 2:30 p.m. A restaurant right there in Havana, Cuba. Middle of the day, sun is out. We had a boat come pick us up, and we all jumped into the boat, and we just fled. We left the country. We traveled, I believe it was a 20-foot boat. We had about 30 people. I know I had the numbers wrong, one of the podcasts that I spoke at before, but it was a 20-footer with about 29, 30 of us, 2 different families. And we did one full night. Now, in the ocean when it's dark, you know what it looks like, right?
It's super scary, man. You can't see anything.
Nothing, right?
Yeah.
Mind you, I was 5 years old. So my memory is not there. I have images of certain things that I remember, but the actual
experience,
the events, I don't remember, right? But I do understand that when you're in the dark, it's dark, right? And we spent about 36, 38 hours in the ocean, 90 miles. We only traveled like 19, 20. The boat broke down in the middle of the ocean. We were putting water into the engine, taking the buckets of water, trying to fix the engine. And long story short, back then, it was 1994, the American Coast Guard picked us up. So we had the American Coast Guard, plane drove by, we started waving and screaming. Next thing you know, a big Titanic ship comes to pick us up, and we're in Cayo Hueso.
Wow.
And this was in August of 1994. So I started, my story starts from Cuba. fleeing communism. Now, why? If you ask my parents why, it was for freedom. So everything that has been rooted in my life has been the chase of freedom. Maybe one of your questions later on today is going to be, why do you do what you do? What motivates you today? And the answer to that, if I'm going to give it now, is freedom. I want freedom for me, for my family, and then for everybody I could impact on the way there. So that's where my story started. I know when we started that company together, I used that story as a tool, because storytelling is a tool. If you're in business, you have to become a great communicator, many things, but a great communicator and a great storyteller, right? So that story, I used that story pre-social media, pre-Instagram, pre-Facebook, pre-OnlyFans, like before all these social media platforms. My story in the rooms, belly to belly, in front of people, was my Cuba story. And it took me to the top, man. Took me to the top, regional vice president. So
That's awesome.
that's where I come from.
Fantastic, man. That's an amazing story. It's funny because I get the other side of the story. I get to tell that story, but about my family. They came, and then I was born here because they came.
There you go.
Searching for freedom.
There you go.
That my father came,
Yeah.
a little older than you, came here,
Yep.
searching for freedom and lived the American dream.
Yep.
So
And it's important to say that because we're in 2024. I have a lot of friends, and I know we're off topic, but we're not, right?
Fine.
I have a lot of friends in Canada, California, nationwide, international, because of the reach that I had in ACN. And remember when the whole Cuba thing was happening 2 years ago, where people were rioting because of the whole Cuba?
Yeah, they were going out with the buses and hitting them with the little bats and beating them up.
It started with the song, the Domino song, right? I forgot the name of the song. But anyways, when that happened, I was very vocal about it. And, when you're vocal about things on social media, number one, you got banned, shadow banned. Number two,
You get a lot of blowback.
You got a lot of pushback, right? But I realized that there was a lot of people in my network in other places of the world that had no idea what I was talking about. My friends in the Bay Area, in Cali, they have no idea what Cuba is, what Cuba looks like. They have no idea what communism even is, right? So then it gave me more ammunition, more fire to speak about it, even though I was getting pushback, and I am shadow banned still today because of that. But I kept going at it because I was pretty much expressing myself, but showing the world that side of Cuba, right? And it goes back to what you're saying. Your family came, right? So think about it. For the ones that don't know, it started in 1962. So we're talking about 65 years, or give or take, right, of straight dictatorship, straight control on the people. Were Randy's family. Randy, when he was a kid, before he was born.
Political prisoner, my father was.
They left to come here, and then he was born in the land of
69.
freedom.
So it's in that era that he's talking about, that they left.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real thing, and it's still happening today. Yeah. So if I'm passionate about anything, obviously business is important. We'll talk about that. Money is important. I mean, I could even tell you back to the upbringing, how it all started for me in business. It's probably a question you have as well. But at the end of the day, one of the things for me is freedom, and exposing the truth of what freedom is and what dictatorships, political prisoners are like and are living like. Not just in Cuba, you got a bunch of other countries, and I don't want to get you shadow banned, so I'm not going to go into it. But this is a very, very important topic to me. So that's what pushes me today.
I hear you. Trust me. I know what you're dealing with. I get
100%.
it. I get it. I'm grateful that my father and my mother, that they met on the plane out of Cuba. Yeah. That's how my parents met, leaving Cuba on the airplane on the way to Spain.
Really?
Yeah, because it was right when it was happening, and like in the beginning where they were still able to get on a plane and leave.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
That's divine intervention.
Yeah, this is after prison for my father and torture and all kinds of stuff. And he just ran into some people that he knew on the other side and helped them, and he was able to get out.
That's crazy.
And then he met my mom on the plane.
That's amazing.
It's a pretty cool story.
And
I'll tell it one day.
Were you created in Spain?
I was created here, man. Well, honestly, I'm not sure. That's a good question. That's good,
Well,
Carlos.
You were born here.
Yeah, I was born in New Jersey. Absolutely. Absolutely. Nice. Okay. Carlos, since you mentioned ACN, share a little bit about your journey and your journey as an entrepreneur, and particularly how you got started with ACN and what drove your success in that company, because this man was at the top levels of the company. Serious income, serious success, and he had to help a lot of people become successful before he became successful. And I'm gonna let him share that experience with you guys. Tell us about
Do you
that.
want the
Carlos.
long story or the short story?
Whatever you
that's
want.
a
I got
broad
all the
question.
time. I got all the time in the world. So you don't.
Like I said, we didn't prepare for this. The moment you asked that question, so many things came to my mind.
That's what I want to hear.
I have so many things I can share
That's
with
good.
you.
That's why I'm glad you kept it spontaneous so that we can do this.
Let's do this one because I haven't talked about this on a public platform ever. And now that I'm coaching the team of 10-year-olds,
Perfect.
It's funny. I'm coaching. Side note, we'll get back on track. But I'm coaching a basketball team of 10-year-olds, and one of the kids that I'm coaching the second time around this season, his father was a high school teacher in my high school.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, Mr. Catala. So it's so funny because he ran into
hear
me.
you now.
And I used to be a punk in high school. Always good intentions, never really like dangerous, but I was a punk, pranks and stuff like that.
Man.
And I remember like who I was. And then when he saw me, like obviously I'm a grown up now and I'm coaching his kids. So it was a very cool moment to have with him.
I'm sure it was.
And realize
I'm
like,
sure
wow,
he was
like,
proud to see you too.
Yeah. He was giving me a bunch of compliments. And I was just like, wow, I actually remember him, But anyways, it goes back to what I'm saying, which is a story. So my entrepreneurship journey, because you got to understand, today I know what I know. Today we have wisdom. But when you're 15, 16, 17, 18, which is when I started, by the way, you only know what you know at the moment. So it's pretty easy to say in hindsight today what I knew. But in reality, if I go back to the shoes that I was wearing when I was 15, I was a different Carlos. Right? So at the moment, I didn't understand that we left Cuba for freedom. I didn't know that. I was in Hialeah just hanging out in Miami Lakes, but I didn't understand the real ramifications of what that was, right, for my family. But anyways, it all started for me in high school. I had a teacher called Mr. Eichelbaum. I don't know where he's at today. Haven't seen the guy ever again. And it was economics, senior year. And the class was economics. So in economics, you're learning about the economy, right? And I remember he would go into like stuff like how the US government and the branches were structured and pretty much everything that had to do with the government and the Wall Street. We'll go into all those things, right? But I remember this teacher was like, he was off the books. Like he wasn't like by the book. So I remember if we had a 2-hour class, which was roughly what the class was, for an hour, he would talk about other things. And the other things was the stock market, investments. Cool. And I would see him on his computer investing. And I would see him on the charts. And that's what sparked my curiosity. I remember in high school when I saw the way that he was moving and the things that he was saying, it resonated with me.
He was teaching and working his side hustles at the same time.
Correct.
And you were watching him do this from the classroom at 19, 18 years old.
No,
you were
16,
younger. You were
15.
Wow.
I graduated at 17.
You're
so
lucky. What a great experience.
And, there's a lot of people in that, probably 40 students in the class, and how many could actually say that they analyzed what I analyzed? Because here we are 20-something years later, and this is what I remember from my beginning journey, the beginning of my journey. And it's a true story. Mr. Eichelbaum gave me the awareness that I didn't have, that there was another world out there outside of the curriculum they were teaching. Because high school was what you know, right? It's a curriculum where you get told what to do, when to do, and it gets you prepared for the real world, which is what? The real world is work for somebody else, right? So he was teaching me those things, right? So that's where it all started. I graduate high school, like most people do, right? Or everybody does. And I got a regular job, $10 an hour, security guard. $10 an hour. I started as a ticket taker at the Dolphin games and the Miami Heat games and the concerts. And then I became a real security guard, licensed with Memorial West Hospital. And I was making $10 an hour in 2008. And I remember working, man, I hated this job, man. They made you shave. It was like a military kind of job, right? And it was 12-hour shifts.
It's good that you got that early so that you knew.
Oh, yeah,
so
bro.
you knew this is not what I want.
I remember, man, and I'm a numbers guy. So I remember I used to make like $1,600 a month. But my car payment, I had a Lincoln Navigator back then, and my father paid it off. So I committed to giving my dad, it was like $9,000. I committed to giving my dad $1,000 a month for 9 months. So I would make $1,600, and more than half was just for the car. So I was working to pay, right? And it was 12-hour shifts. Well, while I was in that post, there was security guard, 12-hour shifts at the hospital, 3rd floor, ICU. I'll never forget. And I remember I used to play with a PSP. Back in the days of PSPs.
The little ones, yeah.
Little ones, they were super cool, man. They were way before their time, because today they will be super dope. But I used to play it, and I got caught on camera playing with the PSP. And I got suspended for 2 weeks, but it wasn't a regular suspension. It was like, come to the office. It was like a military kind of like salute, like, you are suspended, we're not gonna fire you, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, whoa, like, this is what having a boss is like. Anyways, I did my 2 weeks. When I came back, I started picking up books. And that's when I read the Da Vinci Code, which has nothing to do with business, but it was a cool book at the time. I read a couple books, and that's when I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I was sitting there, and I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I promise you, I must have read it like 3 times.
I remember when I read that book.
Because it wasn't that the book taught me a lot, still today. But when you read the book, if you're anything like me, which is an entrepreneur, right? With that hunger, that mindset, you start reading things that are already a part of you, but you had to read it to accept it. I was like, wait, I already knew that. Wait, that's how I feel about that. That's how I feel about taxes. This makes sense. Open up a corporation, the cash flow quadrant, left side of the quadrant. And when I read the book, something hit me like, wow, this is the real sauce. This is the real juice. And literally, bro, this was...
Kiyosaki's a beast.
Bro, that book was amazing.
He's a beast.
And then it had like another part, like the cash flow quadrant, so I read all of them.
Yeah, I have a game that you can play.
There's
The
a game,
board
like a little Monopoly game.
It's
crazy.
awesome.
Literally, the way my life works still to today, man, like I just attract things. It's crazy. I remember reading that book, not even a month later, I get invited by a friend. I'm at my girlfriend's house at the time in Hialeah, and it's a Monday or Tuesday night. It's like, hey man, you wanna make some extra money? Just like that, text message. I'm like, sure, what's up? He's like, meet me at the hotel, dress sharp. It's gonna be like a little meeting or whatever. He did the script, right? And he invited me to the Don Shula Hotel. And when I went to the Don Shula Hotel, it was upstairs. The room must have had 80 people.
Max?
Yeah, 80 people. I went with my friend Jaime Herrera. If he watches this, he's gonna know who he is. We used to play ball together, and he's the one that actually recruited me, man. And I went in there with an open mind, but here's what got me. The book I read, I already had that hunger, that desire to learn. I was searching for something. And when I heard what I heard, you hear residual income, you hear leverage income, you hear investing. People are like, oh my God, I gotta invest. For me, I was like, wait, I gotta invest?
Of course.
Tell me more, because there's something about the journey I'm in that I understand that I have to separate myself. Whatever everybody's doing, do the opposite, right?
Right.
But that's not what got me, because it was still gibberish to me. I was too young. I was 17, guys. I was 17, 18 years old.
Talking to you about residual income.
It was crazy, but it was cool.
Right.
But what got me was the energy of the speaker in front of the room.
Absolutely, man.
When I saw the way he was moving, the swag, the confidence, the posture.
He was young.
He must have been 23.
Yeah.
He was 5 years older than me. And he was in a nice Porsche at the time. He had the Breitling, he had the girl, he had the suit. I had never worn a suit in my life other than like quinceañeras, like 15s, right? Man, this guy was just like a living example of what I wanted to be at the moment. And that's what got me. And then that took me into the journey of building a business, which we could get into that, because that journey is, from that moment forward, is a lot of ups and downs. But
so you
that's
saw
what
it,
got me in.
You saw it and you said, I'm out. I'm done. Let's do it.
But it wasn't just seeing it, I guess. And now we're just freestyling. I'm telling you, I wasn't prepared for this. It wasn't just seeing it. It was that I was ready for it.
Of course.
Because I was searching.
Yeah, so you heard what he said. I say that all the time. Sometimes you'll speak to people and they might not be interested in what you got or what you're talking about because they're not ready. That doesn't mean give up on them. That means write a note in your list next to that person's name to get back in touch with them later because they might be ready later. He was ready at that moment, and let him tell you the rest of it.
I was ready to say yes. I was ready to, I remember, numbers guy. I think I had a little north of $1,000 in the bank with my little $10 an hour. It was $10.50. I got a promotion, 50 cents an hour, a slap in the face, right? And I remember I had like 1,000, and it was so hard. It was $4.99, $500 to get involved.
I remember.
It was so hard for me to put that $4.99 on
half
my
your money.
debit card, man.
It was half your money.
I was living at my mom's house, and I remember it took me like a month. This was 4th of July weekend. I quit my job. Another story for another day. I went to that meeting right after. So it was like July, it all just went hand in hand. It was like July 8th. I signed up July 30th, 2008. So it took me like 3.5 weeks to actually put pen to paper and sign up. And it was Frankie, a really good friend of mine called Frankie, that actually came to my mom's house and he signed me up. You know what I mean?
But you kept going and you kept learning. You kept investigating.
I went to my first Saturday training, and I remember I took one of my best friends with me at the time, still one of my best friends today. And he went with me. I went excited. After Tuesday, I went to Saturday. Now, this was a training, right? The Saturday training is the information session with a training where you really start hearing the Jim Rohn mindset and all the other crazy things about the business world. My friend was skeptical all the way throughout, and I was hyped.
Carl?
No. Okay. No, I met Carl in the business.
Yeah.
My friend was skeptical, and I remember we walked away. He was like mocking the whole thing, because if you're not open-minded, you could be like, yeah, they want your money. Yeah, these guys in a suit. Never trust a guy in a suit, right? And he just left. He never actually did anything with me. And I got involved. I got involved in July 30th, 2008. Now we're going to fast forward a little bit. My first year in business with ACN, living at my mom's house, I had no job. I had quit my job. I made no more than $2,000. No lie. I would sneak into the meetings. Same shirt, same pants, right? You got to go business casual. I would literally sneak into the meetings.
That. You gotta
and
do
you
what you
think
gotta
you're
do.
getting away with it, and I was. But when you look back at it, they knew. Miss Knowles, she knew. Everybody in the front, they knew that this young kid that's hungry for information, that wants something better, is waking up at 8 in the morning, driving to the Saturday event, and they knew that I was sneaking in, but I was respectful. I was always respectful. I always never had bad intentions, so I know they knew. I know now. I didn't know back then. I thought I was getting away with it. I was being sneaky, but they knew, man. They knew I was sneaking in, right? But yeah, for the first year, I made like $2,000. I was 2008 to 09. Second year, I must have made like $5,000. So total like $7,000 in 2 years.
Still didn't quit. He kept
Horrible.
grinding. He was in a dogfight, like Eric Thomas says. He was in a dogfight.
And I remember once you start committing to something and you put one foot in front of the other, eventually people start asking questions. They start asking, what are you doing? Why are you waking up so early? Why are you different? Right? Because I was going through personal development. That's what I really was going through.
Glad you're
I was just growing, just personal development. I was reading. I had never read many books in my life. I must have read like 100 books in that 2-year window. No lie. That was before podcasts, before YouTube. I'm talking about
You had to read the book.
we were old school.
Now we
man.
got it. Let's do it in the car.
We would get the audios, and Carl would burn CDs, and then he would put instrumentals behind the audio. Darren Hardy, John Maxwell, Pat Mazur, and like it would be instrumentals with audios, and that's how we learned.
Yeah.
If we weren't reading, we were listening to audios, right? And one thing led to another, and I started attracting the right people in my life. Eventually, my sister got involved.
Your sister was great. I remember.
Got her to that first promotion. She got me to the second promotion. That's when I finally got the microphone, started speaking in front of the room, felt some type of way about it. I was like, I was really bad, but it gave you some type of, you know, when you do something new for the first time, and it's like, whoa. It was uncomfortable, but it was real. And ever since then, I mean, I wouldn't say I took off. It took me to March of 2011 was when I made my first $10,000 in a month. And that's when I took off. I mean, I made 10 grand in the month, March 2011. April, I made 12 grand, bought a brand new car, exotic car. Everybody was like, whoa, 21 years old with a crazy car. May, I made 12, that year I made $135,000. And then from there on out, I cleared $1 million by the age of 25. That's awesome. It's pretty awesome. But
Yeah,
it was
I remember
3
when I met you.
years. It was 3 years of struggling.
When I met Carlos, he was already there. I met him. He's already at the top, the regional vice president position. That's
Yeah.
what they called it in ACN.
Yeah.
And I remember when Carlos came to my house to get me started, and he sat down with me, and I don't know. I think I kind of shocked you when I showed you what I was, because I said, "Let's go." Because most people, you gotta like push them to start signing up for
But
the
I remember
services.
you also
And
had-
I said, let's sign everything up right now. The alarm, the phones, everything right now. Let's do it all. Because that's the way you're gonna be. If you're gonna represent a company, you gotta use their products and their services. All of them. There's no compromise. How can you promote something you're not using? Go ahead.
No. I was just saying, and then we used to promote the double dipping. And you're like, yeah, put my wife in too. Put my kids in too. And he was signing, and I'm like, this guy's literally like going all the way in. And then I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, you had experience in Amway.
Yeah,
So
that's
you
where I
came
started.
in
That was
talking
my
the talk, and I was like, let's see if it really is like the talk that he's talking about. And I think he hit the first promotion in 24 hours. And then we would give him the microphone in front of the room for the testimonials, and it was like the best testimonial on a Tuesday night. He would
much
sign
fun.
people up for the testimonial. So when you came in, you were on fire.
I was.
You were literally on fire. I
It was a
remember
lot
that.
of fun. I remember we would have meetings when we would have meetings in the homes. And I remember it was him, it was Nelson, it was Gus, it was a few of us. And we would do the meetings in the homes. And sometimes there would be 10, 12 people in the living room there while we're doing the presentation, old school, inside people's homes. Now they do it on Zoom, and it's a lot different now. In the homes, in the living room, doing presentations, and everybody would sign up when we would finish. These guys were on fire. We would ignite the room. People would get so excited. And when we would talk, and let me tell you, it was a lot of fun. We had a great, I remember my wife was crushing it. Oh my God, it was so much fun.
We were ninjas, man. We oftentimes we talk about it because it's been like 8 years since that company, and I've done so much in business since then. But you remember the presentation? Every single part of the presentation had a purpose behind it. Of
course.
It had an introduction, then it had like the meat and potatoes of the actual box number 3, box number 4, the residual income, the leverage income, and then it had a closing. And every closing for every box was designed to take it away from you, to give it to you, take it away from you and transition to the next part of the closing. And then it's crazy. It's crazy to me. When we'll get to the end of the presentation, and then we'll do testimonials. And the testimonials was what? More closing. Because we would read the room, there's 25 people in the room, and you would understand already who's hosting the meeting. Number one, that's the most important person. They would already prepare you with who's in the room. So now you're doing your presentation, you're catering to everybody, but then you know who to target. Is there a doctor in the room? Is there college students? Is there somebody that brought somebody, and those two are the most influential in the room? And you would just kind of cater your whole presentation and your testimonials to those people. Once the testimonial was done, the science was, we got to close one more time. And then we would take it away by giving the 4 excuses. Remember that? And then after the 4 excuses, and there's when we got really ninja, because all of that was ninja. But then we would actually pick on the crowd and say, okay, raise your hands if you see an opportunity to make money. And then obviously you're already gauging the room. So you know who's been nodding their head. You know who's already like in the game. So you would automatically pick on that person in front of everybody. And guess what everybody else does? They follow what that person says.
Sure.
So you say, hey, Maria, I see you raise your hand. So you want to make money or you want to save money? Oh, I want to make money. Now you go to the next person. She said make money. So most likely he or she is going to say make money. Make money. Next thing you know, 40 minutes later, you have the whole room wanting to make money. Now you have your SWAT team. Everybody gets a paperwork, pen to paper, and boom, we'll sign everybody up.
It was awesome.
It was crazy.
It was amazing.
I haven't done that in a
Let me
while.
tell you, it was so much fun.
Yeah.
We had a blast. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. I'm telling you. And I don't know if
many
you guys
memories.
picked up on it, because I always talk about this, but I'm gonna mention it because I didn't ask, like he said, he was telling you from the beginning, I wanted to plan it out. He didn't want to plan this out. He wanted it to be spontaneous during the meeting, during this podcast. And if you've noticed, he talked about reading books. Mm-hmm. He talked about listening to audios and getting yourself pumped up. And he talked about seminars. He's talked about successful people. He talked about all the names that he mentioned when he was talking about the speakers and the audios and the CDs that you guys would make to give to their team. Mm-hmm. Those 3 things, guys, got to continually work on yourself. Got to continually, he talked about that so much. He read 100 books his first 2 years in the business, developing himself. Not books on how to build, no, books on how to build you. Build you, guys. That's the key. Okay, we got to always continue. I have a big sign that I had in front of my face for a long time at my desk. It said, day by day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. Mm-hmm. Right? 100%. I love it, man. Every time, it's just mind-boggling. Every time that we speak to somebody up here that has a success at another level, at the 1%, he's part of the 1%ers, and they always talk about those same 3 things. Those same 3 things that I talk about.
And it's all encompassed in personal development.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. If
Absolutely.
you look at my YouTube video, when I hit RVP, I literally say because of personal development. That's why.
Absolutely.
That's the only reason. So,
Carlos, tell us what key lessons you've learned from your experience as an entrepreneur, especially in terms of mentorship and training others.
That's tough. That's tough. There's so many. And I'm still on my journey right now. I just recently, and it's an open podcast, so I can say this.
Absolutely.
I just recently picked up the Bible. I started reading the Bible literally 2 weeks ago.
That makes me happy.
I started going back to church. I've went to church, obviously, but I started picking it back up. And that's because I'm at a point in my life where I'm searching. I'm searching for, I don't know yet what I'm searching for, right? And I feel like when you go to church and you're around those people, that helps you out, right? But there's a verse in the Bible, don't quote me because I'm going to butcher the whole verse, but it's something in Proverbs that is about not judging others, right?
Of course.
And in that same non-judgmental of others, when it comes to training other people, and it happens a lot in my life today because, look, man, I'm 34. I'm a go-getter. I haven't had a job, clock in, clock out since 2008, and I don't plan on doing that ever again.
Of course.
Now, it hasn't been all daisies and beautiful.
Of course, rainbows.
No, I've gone through a lot of downs, especially since ACN.
been a
I've gone through a
dogfight.
lot of downs. But what I have never done is lost the spirit in me. I've never lost that. I've never lost the hunger, the spirit, the want for knowledge, the want to go meet that person, shake their hand. I always take the meeting. I always say yes, right? And that hunger that I spent so many years building, not the hunger, that foundation that I spent so many years building, still today is inside of me. And there's so many people in my circle that I want to give that to. And when I talk to them, and I'm not going to name any names, but I could name a dozen right now, that I'm like, man, you're better than that. Like, why are you smoking every day? Why are you sleeping in? Like, what is it about what you're doing that makes you happy? And it's not about money. It's about having a purpose, right? And then what I realized, to go back to your answer when it comes to training others, which is one of the questions you asked, is you can't force your ideas on somebody else. And my nature, I'm a Leo. My personality is one of wanting to force my ideas on people. It's the way I am. I love Trump. Boom, got shadow banned because of it, because I was forcing it on people, right? It's just the way I am, right? But you can't do that. People are not receptive to you when you force your ideas on them because they're not ready for that idea. And the reason is because you're vibrating at this frequency, but they're at a lower frequency.
Sure.
It doesn't make them a bad person. Doesn't mean that they're a bad person at all. It just means that they're not ready for their information, or you have to do from your part to get them past that door, open up that door to get ready for their information. So you asked me the question in training others, right? You can't force your ideas on others.
Nope.
All you could do is share experiences, tell a good story, lead by example, literally always lead by the front, from the front. And as you share these stories, the same way I went into a room and it was something he said, something he did that got me because I was ready for it. As you're sharing your story, the right superstar will get that as well from you.
That's right.
But if you keep trying to force it on other people, you're going to fail. You're going to have a headache. You're going to stress out. Like, it's not who you want to be.
No.
You don't want to walk like that person that's always just like hollering and saying, I'm right, I'm right. Maybe you're not right. Maybe you are. But you have to get good at storytelling.
Absolutely.
You know, so that's one of the things. What was the other question you asked? It was before the how do you to train other people?
Mentorship.
Mentorship. What about mentorship?
As you're experiencing as an entrepreneur, what have you learned, especially in terms of mentorship?
That's a tough question, man.
Not only you being a mentor to someone else, but you
mentorship.
having mentors. And
Yeah, I mean,
what has that meant to you in your journey?
Mentors is everything because we're born just us, right? And pretty much everything we do from the day we're born is something we picked up from somebody else.
Absolutely.
Everything. Parents, school, teachers,
whether it be good or bad.
Exactly, right? So obviously, I've had a lot of mentors in my time, a lot of faraway mentors, YouTube videos, audios, people that I've never even met.
Absolutely,
right?
I
There's
agree.
people that you like. Even if you watch a movie like The Wolf of Wall Street, or I know someone like Tony Montana, right? There's a lot of bad in what Tony Montana did. There's a lot of bad in what Jordan Belfort did. But when
There's
you
a lot
watch,
of good
but
too.
when you watch the movie, there's a lot of
learn.
things you could pick up and be like, I like the way he said that. I like the way he did that. I understand why he did that. The bad is not good, but that good is really good, right? So I always pick and choose, and it's whatever comes to me from mentors, but I've always been a student. But in my years, and now I'm a little older, I've also, I've realized that a lot of people are full of shit, you know? And I don't know if I can curse. Hope it's okay.
I put it on there. It's all right.
But a lot of people are full of shit, and you got to be careful with who your mentors are as well, especially today,
Absolutely.
especially with social media.
Yeah.
I mean, man, I could tell you 90% of people are just full of it. You know, they're scamming, they're not walking what they're talking. Like, so I've been the person where, look, I have the ability, if I wanted to open up a platform and speak to the world, and I probably will one day because I feel like I have a lot of wisdom. But I haven't done it because I just feel like the market is just saturated. There's so many people that are full of it. And I just don't want to be one of those people. I don't want to come off as one of those people. So there's a moment in time for me to come out and share my story to the world where it's going to be received the right way. Me personally, the reach that I have in this world, right? And I say that to say this, that I do feel there's a lot of people that are full of it. So you have to be careful with who your mentors are in business.
Absolutely.
When it comes to life, there's only one person that's my hero. And it's cliche, but it's my father.
Absolutely.
Literally, my father to me is like my biggest hero when it comes to life. And I never tell him this. I think he knows it.
He's going to hear it now.
And he's probably going to hear it now. And he's going to, he knows it. He knows
I wish I could tell my dad he was my hero.
Yeah. And the reason I say that is because my dad is a walking, talking example of what a man should be like. My dad is a provider. My dad is calm. He's gentle. He's alpha. He has good spirit, good energy. He makes rational decisions. He doesn't believe the hype. Like, my dad is just like the perfect example of what you want to be like. My father also, when we left Cuba, he left everybody behind. See, when we left Cuba, it was my grandfather, mom's dad, my grandmother, mom's mom, my mom, my aunt, and my uncle, all on my mom's side of the family, all their husbands and wives, and 4 kids, which is me, my sister, and my 2 cousins. Everybody came, right? And then my dad had to make a decision. Do I go with my son, his daughter Jennifer, his wife, and the in-laws, which, you know, in Cuba is like the in-laws. No, we're family, right?
of course.
Like we're all family, right? But he had to leave behind his dad, his mom, his sister, his brother, and all the kids that came through that lineage. He literally left everybody behind. Why? Once again, chase of freedom. But that to me is the most honorable thing that anybody could do, right? So while some of you are 21 years old, 18 years old, some of you are 29 years old and so lost in social media and idolizing Andrew Tate. And I like Andrew Tate. I like Andrew Tate a lot. But you're idolizing people like Andrew Tate or all these rappers. And I like rap music. I love rap music. But you're idolizing these people like you're supposed to sag your pants like them and get the face tattoos like them. No, Wiz Khalifa gets paid and he's a celebrity because he's known for smoking marijuana. Doesn't mean you should smoke marijuana every day. That's not your calling. That's his calling, and he's an alien. He's one of one. You're not him, right? You need to idolize people that are in the real world, feet on the ground, that actually have done something real. And for me, it's my father. Not just in 1994, but the way he's provided for our entire family all the way throughout today, it is my father. Amazing. So when it comes to mentorship, right, there's the business mentorship. Be careful, but find it and don't stop searching. But when it comes to your life, stop idolizing these buffoons, these buffoons on social media, and really find somebody real that you can really gravitate to. And it's got to be a real person. It
Absolutely.
can't be like all that crap that's out there. So
yeah, I agree with you, man.
Yeah,
we got to make sure that we follow the right people. Got to make sure. And you know what he said one thing in the beginning, and this will help you and guide you always. God, back in the Bible, we're back to church. You know, building his relationship with Jesus again. That's key because he will guide you. He will let you know if you're getting involved with the wrong people or following the wrong people. Start your day with God.
Yeah. To touch on that, not to be religious at all, because I've never been religious, but if there's
you don't have to be religious.
No, but
it's just a relationship.
But you gotta accept that there's something out there that created what we are today.
That's it.
We weren't just created out of AI
course.
technology or Chat GPT. You probably don't know what that is.
I do. I use it all the time now.
We weren't created.
It's amazing.
That was created by man, but man was created by something, right? Some people call it the universe. Some people call it God, right? But you gotta understand, there's something out there that created where we're at. So not to get spiritual, right? But if there's anybody listening to this podcast,
you can get as spiritual as you want, man.
But I'm not there yet, right? But if there's anybody listening to this podcast that maybe is like, I feel, because I always feel something, right? This is what was told to me by very close people of mine that I respect highly, and they've been on this journey forever, is to pray. And pray is just talking. You don't have to be all like pray, right? It's just talking to the higher being.
Exactly.
To ask him or her to reveal themselves to you. Reveal yourself to me, right? And then what happens is that things happen in your life. There's events that happen in your life where you start realizing, wait, that's a sign. Wait, that's a sign. And I'm not going to get into it, but I've had a couple of signs in the last couple of months that only I could understand and only I could explain by, okay, that was a sign from the person above telling me, hey, I'm here. And hey, I got you. And hey, what you've been thinking, what you've been feeling, yeah, that's confirmation that that's true. Hey, the way you talk to that person on the phone and the way you felt after that conversation, it's not who you're trying to be. And you know it's not the right way to do it. Guess what? I'm here. I hear you. Boom, sprained ankle. Like that literally happened to me. I was like, wait, why did I sprain my ankle? God, right? There's somebody telling me like, hey man, you're on the right track. So not to get spiritual, but there's something there. And I always encourage people to search for it. And it goes back to this. I was actually thinking about this the other day. There's a moment in my life, don't know why I remember this moment vividly, but I do. It was maybe around the time that I met you. It must have been like 10 years ago when I was 24, 25. You know, we'll do meetings at Starbucks all the time, right? Starbucks, Panera Bread. And I was at the Starbucks in Miami Lakes, top of the world, you know, R8, doing my thing, right? And I was probably doing, the particular meeting I can't remember, but it was a meeting where I was prospecting or launching new people into this business. And, you know, we're teaching them how to make six figures, millions of dollars, right? And two kids, and I could say kids because they were kids. The way I remember them, I don't. I just remember they were kids and they weren't even sharp at all. They were just kids, regular kids, right? They were overhearing the conversation. I had no idea. I walk outside. I have my computer with me, my notebook.
They were just sitting there at the Starbucks.
Just sitting there doing what they were doing, right?
Right.
And as I walk outside, I'll never forget the one on 154th. I'm ready to get into my car. I have another meeting coming up, and they stop me. They're like, "Hey, how's it going?"
Kids, the two young guys.
Verbatim, I can't tell you what was said, but I remember this one part, and I remember like it hit me like a ton of bricks. They said, "Look, man," and it wasn't these words exactly, but this was the message: the chase of money isn't everything. And at the time, I'm making 40 grand a month. At the time, I'm like, bro, like, get out of here. Like, I'm, R8. Like, you don't know anything about money. That's me thinking, right? That's the way that I was back then. But they were like, the chase of money isn't everything. We encourage you to find a relationship with God. It's going to change your life forever. All the success that you have right now, you're going to be so much more fruitful. You're going to have so much more. And I thought it was so corny. I thought it was so like, who are you?
That's what we thought.
That's what I thought. But that moment, for whatever reason, always stayed in the back of my mind. Like, why would, and that could have been one of those things where it was like, boom, he was speaking to me, right? Mm-hmm. But I wasn't ready for it. It's been like 10 years. I wasn't ready for it. Just lately, I started kind of diving in, saying there's got to be something there. So anyways, yeah, I'm in that journey right now.
I'm telling you, and that's the best. You're going to see how he does change your life. Those guys are right. You're going to see. Oh, here's a good one. In your opinion, well, we talked a little bit about this, but let me just ask. In your opinion, Carlos, what are common pitfalls or challenges that entrepreneurs often face, and how do you recommend overcoming them?
You overcome everything with personal development and repetition. For the most part, there's a lot of different answers. It's case by case, right?
Sure.
But repetition, which means not quitting, not giving up. You keep repeating, you're going to eventually overcome it because you're going to learn what not to do and what to do, right? Personal development will help you get over that hump. Some common mistakes, there's so many, but what came to my mind right now, and you know this so well, is the ability to deal with rejection or not deal with rejection. That's the mistake, right?
Yeah, it's good to talk about that.
Most people get rejected, especially if you're not good.
If you're not getting rejected, you're not taking action.
Yeah, but
you're going to get rejected.
You have to embrace the rejection.
Yeah.
You have to. Like, literally, rejection is part of the game. Right? I forgot who it was. I think it was a Thomas Edison one or Abraham Lincoln. The Abraham Lincoln, you ever seen that? And Abraham Lincoln did this and he got rejected. He did this, he got rejected. It was like 40 things that got him all the way to the president of the United States.
Absolutely.
Right?
And you know what he said? Abraham Lincoln would say this. He says, you can be as happy as you decide to be.
Yeah.
And that's how he kept himself the way he did.
Yeah.
Dealt with the rejection.
Yeah.
Abraham Lincoln found a bunch of books at the bottom of a barrel and started reading and educating himself.
Yeah.
That man was in a dogfight.
Yeah. And then what happens is
liberated the slaves.
Yeah.
No, amazing.
Yeah. And then what happens is, and it's just coming to me right now, is the ego. The ego is the reason why our business crumbled. If you remember correctly, why our business crumbled. The company made some changes. We were making a lot of money, guys. We had like 30,000 distributors. We were doing the biggest event, we were talking earlier, but the biggest event was in North Carolina. We have 5,000 people in North Carolina. And I remember I trained right before James Adlam, or after, I was before James Adlam and right after Max Knowles.
Wow.
And I was right in the middle. I was like, man, I made it.
Yeah, man.
Right? Like that's how I was feeling at the time.
You're talking about two circle of excellence.
We were right. My training was an hour and a half long. Hour and a half long, man. So
both FVPs, right? SVPs, Circle of Excellence,
all of that. But
there was only like 25 of them in the whole company, the whole world.
More than that, they were impactful. You know, James Adlam was as the most impactful.
He's amazing.
Impactful. I mean, he's
amazing.
That's not even the word. Amazing is not the word. There's another word, and I can't even think of it. Yeah,
he's awesome.
Awesome is not the word.
Yeah.
There's something more. But James, if you see this man,
next level.
You are a legend, man. But and then Max too. But the reason why we crumbled was the ego. A lot of people had success and they didn't know how to control their ego.
You gotta stay humble.
You know? And then it goes back to this. There's bad ego and then there's healthy ego.
Healthy ego, posture.
Healthy ego is so important.
Yeah, you gotta have posture.
Confidence.
Yeah.
But you gotta have a little ego.
You got to.
But it's gotta be healthy.
Positive.
And that's what I feel that I got in time. I was bad at one point. I used to make people cry.
What's good did you learn from it?
No, but I learned the hard way. I learned I used to make teachers cry, going back to teachers, like there was a teacher in one of our meetings in Southwest Ranches.
When they wouldn't get in?
Yeah, and like I remember like one of my guys, Damien, like through his organization, I had a old, like not an old, but like a teacher from back in the days, and she cried in that meeting because I was so aggressive because my ego was like spewing aggression. And it was just my ego talking where I made a grown woman cry. Obviously, when that was brought to my attention, I'm not that person and I'm like, no, she was wrong. I'm like, okay, how could I get better? And then that's how I started developing a healthy ego. And I think I got to a point, and a lot of people know this, that I had like the Midas touch. Like everything I touched turned to gold. Like I met Randy and he did all his services.
He didn't even try.
Yeah, I didn't have to try. And then you weren't the only one. It was just a bunch of, and I was just like, man, I'm like, my ego could have been through the roof. But at that point, I had developed a healthy ego, which is why it lasted so long. Because I was literally running around the world, running around doing these meetings, and, you know, growing the company, but my ego was intact. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think to answer the question is, you're going to develop an ego. Everybody does, especially when you taste a little bit of success. And if you got social media, you're going to get inflated with your ego because you think all those likes and all those little comments are real, which they're not. But you have to develop a healthy ego. You need one, but it's got to be healthy.
Absolutely.
And there's books on this.
It's called posture.
Yeah. Yeah.
Posture. People respect you when you speak with posture about what you're doing. They respect you. If you act like a wimp, they're not going to respect you. You got to have posture. You got to believe in what you're doing. And that's what he means, ego. You got to be, show people
Believe
you
in
mean
yourself.
business.
Believe that you are the shit when you walk in the room, but also believe that you're not.
Right.
It's like a balance of both.
Because you can be the shit, but you can be the shit and help others get to the top of their game. If they see that that's the ego you have, they're all over it. I was all over it with him. I wanted everywhere he went, I'm following him because I wanted to have the same success he had. Your ego was intact because it wasn't. I wouldn't have been around him and I wouldn't have wanted to be associated with him. But
not only that, man, I've done a lot of bad business. And not that I've done bad business, I've had a lot of bad business done to me since ACN. I mean, I've been in everything, real estate, I've been in so many things, right? And so many people have screwed me over. Whereas like you never want to talk to that person again. Like you'll never recommend that person to nobody. And I've learned through those experiences and what I did before is and if you're listening and you're on your journey to coming up, right? Do good business. Like that's one of the things that like really always stood with me, right? Like one of the worst things in the world is when you lie on somebody's name, you lie about an event that happened, and then months or years later, that person walks in the room and they check you on it. And then you're like, oh my God, because you know you lied about that. And then you have to now correct your lie. Like, why would you even put yourself in that situation, right? So one of my strengths has also been my weakness. I've learned, so I don't think it will be my weakness moving forward, is that I'm always transparent. I've always been just transparent. I used to always show my checks. I used to always, when I had a bad day, you knew I had a bad day. And it was a strength because people gravitated to me because I was human. People gravitate to me. People always said, man, Carlos is a good guy. He's a genuine guy. His ego's intact. So they would mess with me. They would do business with me. It was a strength. But it was also a weakness because in other real business ventures, real negotiations, I got stepped all over. I had to learn how to like be hard and like figure that part out. But I'm saying this to say this. When you're dealing in the business world, when you're out there talking to people, putting yourself out there, do good business. Don't do wrong by people. It always comes back. I'm 34 now. I can say with all the confidence in the world, if you do good business, doors will always open.
All day.
If I did bad business with you, I wouldn't be here right now.
No.
You would have never called me.
Yeah. I've been friends with Carlos since that day. Since we met, we have been friends forever. We have talked about different ventures together. We're always helping each other out like this. It's been a relationship for years already, and it'll continue to be a relationship. And if you notice and you'll see, most of my friends, most of my good friends, I still have a bunch of my friends that I grew up with. I had one up here the other day. But most of my friends now, I've met in businesses like this, that they have to step up, that you have to see all about them. And I have so many, man, I have some of my best friends today that I still talk to on a daily. I met in Amway.
Wow.
Back in the day.
Yep.
Still to this day, best friends, and they weren't in my business and I wasn't in their business.
Yep.
They were cross lines.
Yep.
And they're still my best friends today.
And the only way that could happen is because somewhere down the line, either you help them or they help you.
Yep.
Because you don't make money off each other.
No, we helped each other.
So it was like a volunteer help. Like, hey, yeah,
it was
I'll
a
help
lot
you
of fun, man.
Exactly.
We helped each other. We traveled to a lot of conventions together.
Yeah.
We grew together. That's when I was young. That's when I was. Can you imagine Amway? I was a kid too. And it was amazing.
When you were used to fax out.
I think I was already in my 20s though. I was a little older.
Somebody up, you have to fax in the form.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
No, it wasn't. No computers,
imagine,
man. No, it wasn't like that. You signed somebody up, it would take a bunch of days before you would see them.
That's insane. Wow.
We talked about that. All right. So, it's been an amazing podcast, Carlos. Oh, sorry, man. It's an podcast. Yeah, you answered a bunch of the questions. That's why I stopped. I don't have no more to ask you. I just want to kind of just shoot it here for a couple more minutes before we're almost done. I knew this was going to be a good podcast, and I know that you guys, I hope you guys have been writing things down. I hope you guys have had your piece of paper and a pen like I always advise you guys, because I know you can go back and play it again. It's there for you to listen to it as much as you want to listen to it, but if you put pen to paper, it helps you a lot. Carlos, it's been awesome hanging out with you, man. You have done so great in your life, and you have so much more, man, to achieve. I'm super excited for you, bro. I know that you're at the top of your game, and you're gonna be successful in everything that you do, man. Yeah. It's super, super nice to see you and hang out with you, man.
I appreciate that.
I'm super glad.
Before we wrap it up,
can I ask you a question? Take your time, man.
Could I ask you a question?
Shoot.
What's your goal with this podcast? When I know you started it not too long ago, I'm probably the fifth episode.
Fifth episode.
I know that you could go very, very big with this platform. You could get as huge as you really want to be.
My goal.
What's next for Randy? Like, what motivates you? What has you?
This has been one of my challenges. I remember the first one that I did with Nelson. I was super nervous, and now coming into the fifth one with you on my way here, I was so excited because my goal with the podcast is to help as many people as I can help for free. I don't make any money from this. And I just want to share and continue to share my experiences with everyone. I still do it every day, and I will continue to do it. And I am going to continue to bring guests on here from all kinds of industries, not just the multi-level marketing, MLM industry, the network marketing industry, because Carlos is doing real estate, he's doing investing, he's doing a bunch of things. I'll let him tell you a little bit about that if he wants to tell you now. But my goal is to bring as much knowledge and information to those of you that are out there working your businesses, your side hustles, and to help you get to the next level. And I'm always asking, tell me what you want to hear. Let me know what we can do to assist you guys. Anything that I can put out there, any guest that I can bring up. If you ask me and I can find a guest, I have so many friends and contacts that I'm going to, little by little, we're going to bring up some amazing people that I know that we can help the people that are out there get to the next level in their business, get to the next level in their life, get to the next level in their relationships. Yeah. You know, that is my goal with the podcast. Nice. And it's a challenge for me just to keep doing it every week. It's a goal of mine. Keep doing it. I'm not stopping.
And it's needed.
Every week I'm going to do one for you guys. Plus all the little videos that I put out every day. Yeah. I'm really enjoying it. And you know me, I love speaking in front of people, and I love helping other people. And I've always said it, if you can help enough people achieve their dreams, you're going to achieve your dreams. Yeah. Bottom line.
So let me leave it, I guess, since we're wrapping it up with a tip, right? And here it just hit me once again. I'm like, one of the questions you didn't ask is what's one thing, maybe you didn't, I don't know, but what's one thing that if I could go back in time, I wish somebody would have taught me, or somebody would have
That's a good one.
Like, would have showed me like, hey, this is what the future has for you.
So you answer that one. I'm going to tell you what I feel about that.
So I'll go first. I'll go first. There's so many things. There's so many answers to that question, right? But I think this one is very relevant to where we're at in today's society because there's so much noise out there. There's so much flashiness. There's so much influencers, because you're not being educated online, you're being influenced, right? It's one thing to get educated, it's one thing to be influenced, which is what most people are, right? And it's the management of money. I know it's a boring topic to talk about. It's super, oh my God, here we go again, talking about money. But yes, the management of money. Randy, by the age of 25, I touched $1 million in income.
That's awesome.
By the age of 22, I was in an Audi R8. And I don't say that to brag. I say that to say that I was in an Audi R8. That car payment alone, and this is 2011. Like, we're talking about, like, not today's money. That car payment with gas, with car washes, with valet was $3,500 a month that I would just pay for a vehicle. Then my rent, I remember at my peak, my rent was $2,500 a month, bachelor, living alone. I was paying shelter and car $6,000 a month. You're gonna add everything else on. My lifestyle was $15,000 a month for a good 3-4 years of my peak, right? Now, here's what I wish somebody would have taught me back then. And the reasons why I wasn't taught are not relevant right now, even though it's probably a good lesson within the reasons, which was that I had blinders on. I was all in on what I was doing and I didn't want to open up to anything else. That's a wrong way to be. You have blinders on, you work, you hustle, you put your all into one thing, but always be a student. Always pay attention, see what the competition is doing, see what the innovation is talking about, right? And I didn't have that back then. But what I wish people would have taught me back then is the management of money. There's certain places you could put your money in today where you could aggressively grow your money, for sure, right? You could ride the ups of the market and the downs of the market. That's called variable. You know, you buy a stock, it goes up, you go up with it goes down, you go down with it. You have a real estate property, it goes up, you go up with it goes down, you crash with it. You have a 401k, retirement, it goes up when the market goes up, it goes down when the market goes up. But there's other buckets of money, which is what I wish I would have learned back then, where you could literally park your money like how you park it in a bank account, not in an Audi R8. Don't park it in an expensive car just yet, right? But park it into a bank account where you literally now only go up when the market goes up, protect your money if the market ever crashes. But here's the best part. Now you could use what you have accumulated in the years here as collateral to loan yourself that money tax-free, interest-free, whenever you need access to it, without actually touching the account value in your account.
Nice.
The reason I say that is because I made $1 million by the age of 25. I spent money on so many dumb investments. We could run the list down if you want to, how many investments went wrong for me. If I would have just put some money into the right financial assets, instruments, buckets of money, today at 34 years old, I will have $2 million sitting in a bank account that I have access to if I want to, or I don't, that I could touch right now. But because I didn't set myself up when I was touching the money I was touching, because I was convinced I had to have the expensive car. I was convinced I had to have the Breitling $12,000 watch, which was cool, but it's not a financial decision you should make when it's the first money you touch.
Right.
And when you touch money for the first time, you need to be smart about that money, because your 30s are real, your 40s are real, your 50s are real. And you're either going to be 35 years old starting from scratch, or you're going to be 35 years old living off what you built in your 20s. There's a true thing. It's cliche, it's boring, it sounds like an old head up here talking. No, it's a real thing. You're eventually going to be 40 years old. And you're either, if you're a strong guy and you're broke, busted, and disgusted, you're gonna have to go work construction to provide for your family. Or if you did the right thing in your 20s with your money, you're gonna be financially set. And now you can live in purpose. Because when you're in survival mode, you're not living in no purpose. You're trying to survive, like my guys in Cuba, right? Sadly, it's true. 60 million people in Cuba that are in survival mode every single day.
Absolutely.
But when you break the chains of survival mode and you have that money, you have those investments, you have everything in place because you did it the smart way, now you live your purpose.
Absolutely.
Right? So there's different ways to manage your money. And if you guys want to learn, reach out to me. I'm sure you'll put my Instagram
We're gonna do it all,
on the page, on the video. Reach out to me. I'll show you what I did. I'll show you what I would do if I was in your age, but I'll also show you what exists today where you could ride the ups of the markets, not ride the downs, and even aggressive. You got to be aggressive sometimes. My sock says risk takers. You got to take some risks sometimes,
Absolutely.
right? You got to. But you also got to be smart and understand that in that risk, it doesn't mean go buy a $120,000 Bentley.
Right.
That's not the game plan. You buy the Bentley when the financial instrument or the asset that you put the money in the first place now creates the cash flow and the equity to buy that Bentley 2 or 3 times over. And it sounds so cliche, but tell me I'm lying.
You're not lying.
It's the truth.
No.
So that's what I dedicated my life to today. Yeah, I do real estate. I have a bunch of investments. I wholesale off-market deals. I even have a funding company that it hasn't launched yet, but we're launching a funding company for anything real estate.
Fantastic.
Closing transactions, EMDs, fix and flips. That's in the works. But what I dedicate myself to right now is the financial planning side of things. And I teach people where to put their money, how to structure their money, where they ride the ups, they have all the benefits they need, but more importantly, they keep that money, they preserve that money, and they multiply that money. Now, in that world, I believe there's a passion there as well.
Absolutely.
Because now you're educating the world on what Instagram, social media, and all the others buffoons are not educating them because they're telling you to go buy the car.
Yeah.
They're telling you to go to Komodo and spend $800 on a date. No, take her to Starbucks. When you go to Starbucks on a date for the first date, all gloves are off. You're gonna know if that person is really who they say they are because now you really gotta have a conversation. Yep. But if you gotta go to Komodo for the first date, you're gonna spend $1,000. You're gonna meet the fake version of who that person is, and you're only doing it because this culture, society is telling you to do that. How about you break what society tells you and you do the opposite? Take her to Starbucks, get to know the girl, spend $30 at Starbucks. And if it all checks out, then take her to the restaurant.
Absolutely.
Do things the opposite of what the world tells you.
That's right.
And you'll be way better in life. So I just want to throw that in there.
This is your guy, finances, guys. I'm gonna post all his info online when I do the podcast goes out next week. It's gonna have all his information everywhere. You can get in contact with him so he can advise you and help you if you wish. Okay, now to answer my part of the question, what I wish I would have been turned on to when I was real young, especially like right out of high school, were the books. The books.
Yeah.
If somebody would have turned me on to the books.
Yeah.
From when I was young, right out of high school.
At what age did you start?
Probably like almost 30.
Yeah. Started late.
Right. And I wish that someone would have shown me the magic of thinking big when I was 18 years old. How to win friends and influence people. Think and grow rich.
Yeah.
Rich dad, poor dad.
I can't imagine what my life would be like if I started, at 30.
Right out of high school.
Yep.
Yeah, right out of high school. They should be introducing.
That's why I thank Mr. Eichelbaum.
That's what they should be introducing. They should be introducing the young generation right out of high school to this stuff. They should be at least give them a couple books, give them one on the way out, just to enlighten them, to let them know that it's not just about numbers.
But they won't.
It's about growing as a person and developing yourself and learning that, for example, your name is the sweetest sound to your ears. So when you talk to people, when you see people, and you can use their name, you see how much of a better reaction you get. These are little things that you learn in these books, but they're so important. They change your game. And that's what I wish I would have been turned on to. I'm grateful that I was turned on to it when I got turned on to it. I'm doing just fine now. Like Carlos says, you got to be at the top of your game. You got to constantly be sharpening the sword, working on your craft. Yeah. Thanks for coming on the show, bro.
I appreciate you, man.
Good stuff.
We got to do it again.
Absolutely. We're going to do it again.
And when we do it again, we don't prepare.
No prepare?
Those are
you want to
best.
just wing it for an hour?
I love winging
I'm down. We've known each other long enough. We have a lot of content.
Course.
We got a lot of stuff to talk about.
100%.
Next time, we'll have more successes to talk about,
Yep.
things we achieved from this day forward back to
Yep.
that point when we meet again.
Yep.
Here.
Appreciate you, man.
Good to have you, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Guys, I
Thank you
hope you
guys.
enjoyed it. God bless all of you. I love all of you very much. You know it. And we'll see you on her again soon. Bye-bye.